It's always nice to greet old friends, and it's also particularly good also to be able to say hello to Aussies who've made it, who've done it. You would realise at the moment the Bee Gees have their first album out in, I think it's around about 6 years, called One, and it's selling like the proverbial hotcakes. In our Hollywood studios, please welcome Robin, Maurice and Barry, the Bee Gees.
Hi, Bert. Hi, Bert.
Welcome, guys. It's great to talk to you, and the good news I can give you right from the kickoff is that we looked for a copy of the album cover to show on air today, and yesterday afternoon we gave up after 17 shops. Each one had sold out of the album, which I think is great news for you.
Fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Great news. That's lovely.
Why have you waited so long to go back on record?
Do you want to start?
Take this?
Well, I'll choose. What about you, Barry? You
yeah.
answer that one.
Well, yeah, quite a few reasons, actually, but about the end of the fever syndrome of Spirits having flown in that period, about 1980, we were pretty well saturated at radio with our records, and it got very, very just too much. We had to pull away. We had to stop being the Bee Gees for a little while and concentrate on individual things. And we're bringing up our children and things, yeah, various reasons, writing for other people at the same time, but basically not being the Bee Gees for a little while because I think we'd been on the forefront and we'd sort of been outplayed. So we wanted to not to go any further with that. We tried to pull back a little bit.
Yeah. I suppose one of the great things about you as a group and also as writers is the fact that you have stayed together. Has that been hard?
No.
Not really. No, it's not been hard. It's something I think because we are brothers that we've stayed together so long. We're each other's best friends. We just do, when we do things together, it's a lot more magical because it seems to be a lot more power between the three of us than just doing things individually or together, or just two of us.
But we think doing things individually is also good for us as a group. You know, it gets those little things out of your brain, and we feel more like a group now than we ever have.
Okay, Robin, don't think you're going to get an easy time.
No.
Robin, touring. You're talking about easy times. Touring is always pretty rugged, isn't it?
It's always pretty rugged, Bert. I'm a vegetarian, and it's very difficult on the road to eat what you want to eat right, you know, because you don't get the right diet, as you know, Bert. And it can be pretty tough because all hotels and restaurants that you go to outside your home don't cater for vegetarians. And I go a step further. I'm microbiotic. Macrobiotic is the word. And it's very difficult for restaurants and hotels to cater for this.
Look at this camera.
This. Hi, Bert. to cater for this.
It's that camera with the light on.
Are you getting all this?
Yes. Just say it again.
Very rugged.
Yeah, just look at the camera.
It can be very rugged if you are a vegetarian macrobiotic because restaurants and hotels do not serve it, Bert. And, you know, also getting the right sleep, it can be very difficult on the road. But this is great. We're having a good time. We're looking forward to getting down to Australia and doing the Australian leg. We'll be down there in November.
Are you the only one of the guys that is vegetarian?
Barry's a vegetarian as well. He eats the odd bit of chicken, though, don't you, Barry?
Yeah, Maurice eats anything.
Yeah,
just going to say,
cut off his head.
Why not you?
This is an old...
I don't know. I mean, I've always remained at 140 pounds, 10 stone. I've always remained at that level since I was 18. I've just never gone up or down, so I just eat anything, you know, cut off its head and wipe its, you know, anything.
Guys, getting back to the album, on One, there's a real change in style. Did that take very long to develop in the writing?
Do you want to answer that one?
Not really. It's just an ongoing thing with us. If we write all the time because we like to look at what we do as perhaps some sort of gift when we were born, but also it's very much a craft, and you have to keep doing it. And if we stop writing for a little while, we get a little stale, and it doesn't work the same way. So we keep writing, and this album is basically an on-flow from ESP, but it's subject to its own changes. It has its own changes. We make our changes sort of subconsciously, and if there are differences, it's basically that. It's not a conscious thing.
Barry, when you were starting out all those years ago and you came to fame here in Australia through Bandstand and other programs, mainly through Brian's show, did you ever imagine if you were to make it as big as you did, that there'd be as many pressures as you've discovered?
All I know is that when we were children and we were growing up in Australia, there was really nothing else we wanted but to be famous, and we wanted to be famous internationally. And There were pressures even living in Australia from doing what we were doing. There was always people always critics, and always people saying, well, the Bee Gees can't really do it, or there was always opposition of some sort. So we've sort of lived with it all our lives. We've always felt that we've always believed in what we do. We've always believed that we could make it, and we've never looked back from that, and we don't look back from it today. So yeah, there are obstacles, but that's fine. We're ready for them.
Maurice,
Even the past and the future.
This is probably a question that you're asked so often, you're tired of it, and it shouldn't come from someone in Australia like myself, but once and for all, can you please tell us how you got the name the Bee Gees?
Right, that's easy.
No problems, Bert.
Yeah.
Well, it first starts with...
Speedway in Redcliffe. Yeah.
The Speedway, yeah. Do you want to take this?
Oh, no.
It's a Speedway in Redcliffe, outside Brisbane, where we used to live, and there was a racing driver called Bill Good, a disc jockey called Bill Gates from 4BH in Brisbane, and he sort of loved what we were doing. We played in between the races, sometimes when the races were on. It was hard picking money off the tracks, I can tell you. So we did it on the back of this truck, you know, and they saw us the next day. They came round and they were discussing about doing an acetate at 4BH and wanted to manage us. And there was the three initials of Barry, Bill Gates, Bill Good, the brothers Gibb, and
Barbara
also
Gibb.
my mum Barbara Gibb. So the initials BG, there was a lot of them about. So we were called Bee Gees, which was B.G''S in those days.
Right.
And we started to get more hip and add the E's.
What about lifestyle now for you guys? Robin, this one to you. What sort of a life do you lead, apart from being so vegetarian?
Yeah, Robin, what sort of...
In terms of like hobbies and things?
Well, what do you
That kind of
do,
thing?
especially when you haven't been
What do I do,
recording for
Bert?
so long?
I like to read a lot. I read a lot of books, and I like to read about history. I like to read about World War II, the Black Plague, the French Revolution. You can tell a person's character by the books he reads, it's one said.
Yes.
I don't know who said it.
You're
I think it was Oscar Wilde who won.
You're pretty light, are you, obviously?
Yes, I like read, yes, and I like to do it mostly just before going to sleep. But Barry likes tennis. He likes to, but he
I like
likes
to do it mostly before going to sleep as well.
Barry likes tennis a lot, but he's also borrows the books that I read when I'm finished with them.
Sure. Maurice, to you, what do you like to do just before you go to sleep?
Well, I think that's rather personal, Bert.
It's precisely why he asked.
Well,
Shandy.
I transcend my life, what I've been doing over the past...
Oh, come on, tell the truth, you dirties.
I mean, some of these things we don't even know, so it's going to be a revelation.
I like
on,
to dabble
Maurice.
into photography. I like to dabble into photography, Bert.
Morris likes to take pictures at night before he goes to sleep.
Maurice likes to experiment. Maurice likes to experiment before going to sleep.
No, I like to experiment in my studio, actually. I experiment in sounds.
Now, we thought he was a bit of a scientist, secretly, a closet scientist all these years, because he liked to experiment.
Computers and that.
And computers,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me just get this picture, with no pun intended. It means that each one of you, individually, all by yourselves, have something quite different you like to do just before you
This is
go to
true.
sleep.
Yes,
That's
true.
correct,
It's not
yeah.
common knowledge, though.
Truer than you think, Bert.
Apart from music, what else do you do together? I mean, do you golf together, play tennis together, party together, rage together?
Well, I play. I play a lot of tennis. I also have a tennis tournament in Miami for diabetes, which raises about $100,000 a year. So, I'm a pretty keen tennis player. Maurice, once again, is a very keen photographer, and Robin is a keen reader of all kinds of historical books.
I'm a great chronicleizer. I just
Yeah.
read and...
Note the word keen.
Yeah, you've got to be keen.
Yeah.
Barry, just back to you, just for a very serious moment. I've noticed on the album there's a song dedicated to your brother Andy. Of course, I mean, these wounds are very, very deep. You hope only the time is going to eventually not write anything, but certainly make it a little easier for you. But how did you guys cope with that tragedy?
Well, it was a very devastating thing. It devastated the whole family. Nobody really expected anything like that to happen to Andy. So it's been a very spiritual experience for us. It's made us all much more interested in the metaphysical side of life, and it's made us want to perform much more than we would have normally. We want to get up and be counted. We want to play our music live. We want to become a performing group like we used to be. As you know, in Australia we were a performing group even before we ever had a hit record. We want to get back to those kind of roots, and I think losing Andy has brought that out in us, in that we always feel that he was a very gifted person, and a lot of it was wasted for various reasons, and we don't want to waste what we do, and I think that's been a lesson to us. We want to do everything we can do and get better at it. you know, and I think Andy's responsible for that also.
Barry, is there any guilt because Andy wasn't one of the Bee Gees and he went?
Yeah, we all feel guilt of certain kinds, you know, the whole family does. When you lose somebody close to you, I don't know if this has ever happened to you or your viewers, but when you lose somebody close to you, you go through a transformation, you feel very, very guilty and angry. And yes, we all feel guilt. We all feel that there were certain things that we always wanted to say and we didn't say, and there were certain arguments that we never wanted to happen but happened. And I think this happens to a lot of people who lose somebody close. So yes, the guilt is there.
Were you at peace with him before he died?
Yes, we were. There were 2 very good years when Andy was at home with us, and he was very straight and in sobriety. I think that's the right word. He was very, very clear and straight about what he wanted to do with his life. He learned to fly. Let me tell you that he learned to fly about 3 months before he died. So it shows you that inside the person there was a very, very powerful force. It's not easy to learn to fly, you know. It's nothing that we've ever thought of doing, any of the rest of us as brothers. So you have to at least allow for that fact that it existed in him, and if he'd pointed that kind of force in the right direction, he would have been back at the top of his game, you know.
How old was he, Barry?
How old? He was 30 exactly.
Yeah. 30, yeah.
Well, I don't want to.
yeah.
I don't conclude things on a downer, but I just want to say that I do appreciate you talking about that, because I don't think anyone watching you today would not have a thought for Andy. We've got lots of thoughts for you.
Especially, yeah, thank you.
Yep, a lot of
Especially people in Australia who knew Andy very well.
Certainly, certainly.
Yeah.
As I say, we've got a lot of thoughts for you guys too, because it's been too long since you were out there where you belong.
Yes.
And we look forward to you seeing you on tour too.
Well, let me say that we feel the same way. We feel very much Australian. We always have done, and we're sincerely looking forward to getting back and seeing all of our friends, and yourself, of course.
Oh, and our sister too, who...
Our sister Leslie, we'd like to say hello to if we could.
Yeah, the Evans family in Parramatta. Oh, no, Windsor in New South Wales.
Yeah.
We'll charge you for that telegram.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Maurice, and thanks, Barry. The Bee Gees.
Nice talking to you. Thank you.
That's the album. They were the guys, and here's the song. The Bee Gees. And if my friend Bill Gates is watching, former top DJ and now radio executive, you're right, all these years, Bill, you had a lot to do with it.